What is up, everybody? Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chapp, and we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions. Obviously, this victory today was one to behold. In all reality, did you really think that they were going to win? I thought they were going to win as well, but when you think about what they were able to do, right? They were down in a considerable amount of players. When you look at the injury report, you were down just these guys, DJ Reader, Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike, Taylor Decker. Not to mention, you had Aiden Hutchinson out, obviously. Derek Barnes, Rodrigo's out for the year. Makai Wingo's out for the year. Derek Barnes out for the foreseeable future. Alex Anzalone's out. When you talk about losing those players and you're able to win a football game against the Green Bay Packers, who also were fighting for the division up until this point, obviously this is before the game, but they were 9-3. They were still available to win the NFC North. What you did tonight proves once and for all. Number one, it eliminates the Green Bay Packers from the NFC North discussion. Furthermore, this is the most amount of wins in a straight wins. 11 straight wins is a franchise record. Not to mention, being 12, this is the 12th win of the season. This ties the single season franchise record, and it also clinches the playoffs. So when you talk about the Detroit Lions and you talk about the absolute grit they had to have to win this football game, and you just look at what they had to do to win this football game, they didn't just win this football game because they played perfect. No. They did not play perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The interception was horrible. Obviously, going forward on fourth down, not getting it. Obviously, I think if you're going to go look at it from a realistic standpoint, I think Campbell was trying to do what he just did, which was get the ball back last. And if that was the way he did it, very, very smart. But what the Detroit Lions prove today is that grit, like I said before, isn't just a marketing solution. Grit is the way that they play. They went in there with Za'Darius Smith and Aleem McNeil, two guys that were on the roster for sure. Aleem McNeil left in the second half. Za'Darius Smith was the only one running. We're running with guys like Miles Adams, Jonah Williams. Don't even know his name. Pat O'Connor, the Eastern Michigan legend. And they find a way to win. You got to understand, this is heroic stuff. Because it's exactly how the Lions had to win this football game. They won this game, and if you look at the time of possession, it was 36:06 to 23:54. The penalties were 7-7. Obviously, they lost a fumble. You gave an interception. Detroit had 27 first downs to the Green Bay Packers 17. Detroit outrushed Green Bay. They outpassed Green Bay, but their yards per play wasn't as good as Green Bay's. Make no bones about it. Green Bay was moving the ball at a historic time. I think at one point it was like 7.2 or 3. They were moving the ball. And Dan Campbell, at that point in time, he started to really crank down. He wanted to get some fourth downs. Obviously, going for it on fourth down is kind of shaky for a lot of people. But when you think about it from this perspective, he knew that the defense that he had is totally gassed. Totally gassed. Like, he knew that they were limited to what they were going to do. And Green Bay was getting the yards that was necessary to win the football game. They were at one point it was like 6.3. It ended at 6.6, so that's a lot more than it was. But when you think about the yards per play and you think about the time of possession, the Lions won a brawl. They didn't just go out there and just casually won the football game. They won a brawl. And this game in particular is so it's rewarding for all of us as Lions fans because we got to see the Lions absolutely just destroy every little thing that people were talking about on the pre-games. If you listen to ESPN or you listen to NFL Prime or you were listening to somewhere along the lines, They were talking about the Lions' injuries were going to defect them from winning this game. They go out there, they win this game the hard way. It wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. But what the Lions showed in every step of the way is that they are legitimately a championship team. You know, you think about championship teams. What do they do when things go? They don't go their way. What do you do when things aren't going your way? This is the Lions in particular. Nothing's going their way. They lost to Lee McNeil going into the second half. They're missing a majority of their defensive players. They come out and they win the football game against a good Green Bay Packers team. And when you think about it from this perspective, this is the Lions. This is the first time in NFL history that every receiver got 5+ receptions in NFL history. Look at that. 5, 5, 5, 6, 5, 6. And then you look at what the Packers did. You held Josh Jacobs to 66 yards on 18 carries for 3.7 average carry. Just think about that. That's just so special, man. Because Josh Jacobs was coming here. He was averaging 100 a game. He didn't even get to his average of 70+ alt receiving and alt running, which means running and receiving combined. He's hit that last 15 games. He didn't get that today. With a depleted defense. I mean, that just shows you everything you need to know about this Lions team. And honestly, we're going to get to the comments in a minute, but this is just one of the best victories from a Lions football team in quite some time. I'll put this over the playoff game against the Rams because of how it came about. You were beat up, unimaginably beat up. You go and you play the Packers, who are moderately healthy on the offensive end, and you just beat them by playing the game. And a lot of teams would not have been able to do this, but the good job on the offense. And if they didn't turn over the ball, I guarantee you they would have won by 10 points. Impressive ass victory. And like Dan Campbell calls those people that they call up from the practice squad, he calls them the Northern Savages. The Northern Savages. Well, I think that they are the Northern Savages. So it was interesting from my perspective, because you don't get better than this. You literally don't. And you clinch a playoff spot, which is amazing. You get your 11th straight win. And this was a game where you came into this game and you were just injured beyond belief. It goes without notice, man. So if you got comments, we'll get to them in a minute. Obviously, what a great game. Just what a great game, man. It was just truly one of those games that you talk about that you're excited to talk about. And I came back from downtown Detroit, parking ticket and all, and we're gonna roll. Obviously it's 1:00 in the morning, but for people who can't sleep because they're just so excited, we're good to go. We're gonna be rocking and rolling right here now. Let's get to some comments in the comments. We have Fernando says O'Connor played well. Yes, he did. He was very, very good. Matthew says grit all the way. Paul says that was a huge stop by the defense at the end of the end to hold Green Bay to a field goal. Dwayne Keene says that let's go Detroit Lions, one pride, Kings of the North Division Championship title, all grit, never back down, 12-1. Great stuff, Dwayne. Daniel Packard says, weird that at 12-1 they've only just clinched the playoffs. That should have happened a long time ago. You know what? It's a weird time in the NFL right now. You know, if we go back to it, the NFC North is just stacked. And before this year, no one thought that the NFC was going to be any good. They thought the AFC was going to be good. Turns out the NFC is the good conference. I mean, and you're playing in the toughest division of them all. I mean, the Bears got 8 losses, and they're at the bottom of the division. Some divisions that will get you in third place. Packer fan is crying in the YouTube comments. Screw you, bro. You're an idiot. Dwayne Keene is bringing up some players that really we should talk about. Dwayne brings up Jake Bates, number 39, and I think that anything you talk about with Jake Bates, absolutely phenomenal. From bricklayer to kick layer, this kid is is a phenom. 3 game-winning kicks this year. 3 game-winning kicks. Tim Patrick, number 17. Let's go to Tim Patrick's stats. If you look at Tim Patrick, I think this is line stats. He had 6 receptions for 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. When you talk about how great that is, at the beginning of the year, we were talking about wide receiver number 3. I think all of us were talking about wide receiver number 3. We were talking about how depleted without Josh Reynolds it was going to be. Who is going to be that big body wide receiver that we can count on? And I think that Tim Patrick today proved that you can count on Tim Patrick. What a fantastic pickup that is by Brad Holmes. What a fantastic pickup it is. And give credit to Brad Holmes for one more thing. It's all right to have a talented roster, right? It's all right. But when you have a talented roster and then you can add players to it, not only that, but you can call people in the practice squad who will do a pretty good job like they just did today. Phenomenal. Brad Holmes deserves a star. This is amazing GM work, man. They're putting the things together that need to be put together, and they're doing a damn good job. Let's go to the comments. This team is built different. It's tough. It's different, tough, and has grit. That's from Dwayne Keene. He talked about Sam Laporta as well. Sam Laporta had a great game. Stu says, what a fantastic game. It was exciting all the way. It was exciting all the way, but if you have a heart palpitation, I tell you what, it wasn't that exciting. I think you were probably calling your medical doctor or trying to take some heart issued medication because your heart was just pumping 1,000,000 miles per hour. And to be honest, it is what it is. I thought at the 4th down when his knee went down, I thought that was just the craziest thing that could have happened. Detroit comes out, they win the football game. That's all that matters. David is a horn. Pat O'Connor blowing up Bill, putting a lot of pressure on them. I think he was the defensive player of the game. Just saying. Pat O'Connor was playing very, very well. At one point, when I checked the Pro Football Focus live grades, he was the number 1 player for the Detroit Lions. So it was very, very interesting to see that he played a very, very good game. I thought it was excellent on his part. David, he's going to get a lot of opportunity. They're playing one-on-one with him. Pat O'Connor had a great game. And if you watch Pat O'Connor, I think he played with Tampa Bay last year. There's a couple games he got in where he really showed out. He's a very useful player. He was a good player at Eastern. He's a very good player in terms of the way that he plays. And today was just I think today was the most impressive that he's had because he didn't have, Lee McNeil up the middle. He didn't have DJ Reader up the middle. He just had him and Zadarius Smith, and they worked on him. Stu says, I've been a Lions fan for him. Never been more excited about a Lions than this year. I paid to watch a fantastic football game. It was a great game for the Detroit Lions. I know people were just buzzing over this win. This was a phenomenal win from every stretch of the imagination. I thought when you think about what the Detroit Lions had to go through to get to this point, phenomenal. And I thought, David brought it up about he's going to get a lot of opportunity about Patrick O'Connor. I think a lot of players on this roster tonight showed that they're worth it. I think Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams had a decent game. David Long, we're going to be talking about David Long for this whole year because he's a very good football player. And I thought he had a really good game. I thought he was very, very well in tune with the game, and I thought he played really well. When you look at it like this, we'll bring up some stats right here. But when you think about it like the Detroit Lions, let's go to their defensive stats. Muhammad had 4 tackles, 3 solo tackles. Trevor Nowatzki had 3 tackles. If you get to David Long had 1 tackle, but then you had Carlton Davis with the forced fumble. That was excellent. But you're just, Zadarius Smith had that sack. It was an interesting game for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, this defense put it together, but what a game! And I'm interested to see what the Pro Football Focus has. I thought they played a phenomenal game, man. This was one of the best games I've seen in a long time from the Lions team. When you think about holding Josh Jacobs under his 70 alt receiving and alt running yards, that's pretty impressive. So Jack Campbell had 1 QB hit. Al-Quadin Muhammad had 1 hit. Miles Adams had 1 quarterback hit. They had 7 quarterback hits per ESPN, but if you I was tracking on the Pro Football Focus, and I believe at one point they had 10. So track we'll say 9.5. Ezekiel Turner, who made the tackle of the game. That tackle saved the heffing game. What a tackle that was by Ezekiel Turner. Man, man, oh man. Sue, you're not alone. I think everyone in the Sue says my heart was going crazy during that game. Obviously, I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people are the same as you. What a I feel like everyone watching that fourth quarter was just like, man, like what is going on with this team? And excellent, man, just excellent. It was phenomenal to see that happen, and you got to be excited about that. Um, trying to pull it up. Um, the most games with 75% completion percentage in a season in NFL history. 15 attempts per game minimum. Jared Goff has 7. Kirk Cousins has 7. Drew Brees has 7. But the guy at the top is Tom Brady with 8 in 2007. Tim Patrick had a great game, obviously. But man, what a game for this team. What a game. What a game. And I don't know. I don't know what people are. I thought the crowd, if you were at the game, hats off to you. Hats off to you. You played a huge role in this game. Huge role. I thought the crowd played a more of a factor than people thought. If you go back to the third quarter, roughly around like the middle of the quarter, I thought there was a play where the crowd really affected Jordan Love because he threw to an area where I think it was a hot route at one point, and he threw to an area that was pretty guarded, was not guarded. No one was there. I think it was a hot route that wasn't really spoken to the wide receiver correctly, or he couldn't hear, and it just made a real good way. Dwayne Keene says the defense played awesome while we played our practice squad players. Oh, that just goes to tell you how this team is built, how this team goes about things. What the most interesting thing about this game was, yes, practice squad players, right? But this game in particular shows you exactly what your team is about, not just right now, but going into the future. Obviously, winning a game like this is more impressive than winning a game at full strength, in my opinion. Because you came into this game and you were absolutely beat to shreds. I was worried at a point, but I knew what the Lions offense was capable of. I knew they were capable of controlling the time of possession, and that's exactly what they did. I said on the podcast, I knew it was going to be a higher score game. I didn't think it'd be. I was 10 points off on the Lions. Well, 7 points off. I had 41-38. So it is what it is. Devin, my man, says, "What up? We did great." And what up, Joe, man? And he says his dad was at the game. I'll be at every home game next year. Time to show out everyone we're about. That's the thing about it, man. Like when you talk about the Lions and you talk about this team and you talk about this organization and you talk about the fan base, they call Seattle the 12th man. They call Texas A&M the 12th man. If you really want to be technical and you want to go through all the statistics and what the Detroit Lions fan base does to teams, particularly they are the 12th man. Let's just be honest. Like the way that they affect the football game, we've seen a couple times where they affected a football game tonight. It's very impressive. And this fan base is rabid. This fan base is excellent. And this fan base cares a whole hell of a lot. And you could see when they go to games. Now, remember back in the day, the Red Wings were really good, right? But it got to a point where they became the fancy crowd and they sat on their hands. The most important aspect of this Detroit Lions team, is please keep the working class in that building, because You seen what happened with the working class that left the Detroit Red Wings games? It was less rabid. The Lions crowd, they're working class. They figure it out, and they are a tough son of a gun place to play. So, what an excellent try! What an excellent thing for the Detroit Lions fans, man. They're great, great, great. 4 playoff wins in franchise, and I was 2 last year. The 2 most miserable franchise in NFL. I don't even know what that means. To be honest, uh, Devin says, for having 13 plus on IR, not only but on only Indeed, this shows what this team is talking about. Oh, I see what he's talking about. Now, this is Matt Henry. This is some Green Bay Packer fan. We called the toilet the most miserable franchise in NFL history. I got something for you, Mr. The Toilet, Mr. Matt Henry. Go F yourself, dude. Do you understand that things change? Do you understand that you have a casket as a picture? I'm leaving it up so people can realize that you're all a bunch of dumbasses and frauds. You got beat by a team that had 13 practice squad players on the roster. You got beat by a team that had close to 18 people on the IR, including Ian Hudson, including Derek Barnes, including Alex Ancelotti, including Malcolm Rodriguez, and we still beat your ass. Still beat your ass. So take your comment, shove it up your ass. No one cares what you have to say. You and the rest of you Packer fans, if you're watching this, shut the hell up. You just got swept again, you losers. And if there's any Viking fans in the comment section or Bears fans, Bears fans, you can go pound sand too. You're a bunch of idiots too. But Vikings fans, screw you too. Kings of the North, baby. And screw you, Matt Henry. We'll be good. All right, let's get to more professional. That was a person in the comments. We had to go at it. David Zyron says, I can't wait to play Buffalo. That will tell us a lot. I can't wait for the long layoff. They got 10 days before the next game. You know they're going to get more healthy. It's going to be fantastic for this team to get healthy. Just not playing they played, I think it was 4 games in 18 days. That's, if you think about it from a realistic standpoint, you're realistically playing 4 games in 28 days. They pretty much lost 10 days. So good on them. Paul says, Dan said the defense was spent. We're going in overtime, and that defense was spent. We were going into overtime, and that wasn't an option. I told people this. I was watching with my cousin James, and we were talking about going for it on 4th down. There was no way that they could have gone any further. The defense was spent. They needed this. They needed to win time of possession tonight. They did. They needed to get that 4th down, which they didn't, but it ended up helping them because the timing really helped them out. It really made it to where Green Bay wasn't going to go, be able to melt the clock as much because they were so close to the end zone. I thought that was pretty smart because at this point in time, you're really you want 2 possessions. You want 1 possession to tie it or go ahead, and you want 1 possession to go win the game. That's what it was. Matt Henry's in the comments again. Yep, buddy. 1 division title in the last 30 years, the most miserable franchise in history. You're miserable. It's 1:30 in the morning, and you're arguing with the Lions Facebook page, the Lions podcast page. You are just a piece of work, aren't you? You must be a total lackadaisical bum. Chris Bell, just the strong emoji. Chris, by your profile picture, you look like a strong person, so I like that. Dwayne Keene says, don't want to say it, but yeah, 1 game at a time, and next game the Bills, and that is the only thing we're focused on, plus trying to get our players back from injury. Well, just like I said, you are going to have 10 days off. Not 10 days off, but you're going to have 10 days till the next game. I think this was the most important part of this schedule. If you got the win here, I think it sets you up for a really good chance to the rest of the year. because this was an NFC win, and not only this, it was a pretty big win in the division because it basically put to bed Green Bay trying to win the division. So that loser in the comment, he could go suck it. David says, Matt, you're a troll. Just move on. We had a fun with Matt in the comment section. He was a pretty well spent. Obviously, when you have a casket as your profile picture, or you're talking to an opposing team's podcast on at 1:30 at night. I mean, I guess look, cheers, brother. This was obviously not your night tonight, and it didn't seem like it was going to be your night anyways because you lost to like a team with 18 players on the IR. So it is what it is. Let's see what Devin says. Devin says nobody called us that, Matt. We're rooted around the league to get beat at home and in Ford Field in primetime games. And that's the thing. If people were just honest with themselves and they just looked at it from a realistic standpoint, coming into Ford Field and winning is tough. It's easier when the team has like what we had. I think we had 5 or 6 guys from practice squad up on the defensive line. Like you should have been able to push us around. But unfortunately for the Packers, Josh Jacobs came into this game. He was on a streak of like 11 straight where he's got 100 yards or 80 yards or 70. I think it's 70 yards. He got 66 yards. Yes, he got 3 touchdowns, but it took him 3.7 per carry. Excellent. Excellent, man. Let's get to some more comments. We have a couple people in the comments. Skip is responding to Matt Henry. He says, the toilet beat those cheeseheads twice this year, you miserable POS. See, I love Lions fans because I'll tell you what, man. Like, you can't really mess with Lions fans because they're like the kind of group that, like, when you fight with one of us, you fight us all. And it's just like, you're about to get your ass whooped in the comment section. So, good on Skip. Good on Devin. Good on everyone in the comment section. Appreciate you. Devin says, we are not worried about any division team. Time to heal up for a long week and show everyone what we're bound to do. You know what? I will say this. Minnesota is on our trail, but this win tonight really helps us. And you think about it like this. Minnesota has to win. We have to lose 3 games. We have to lose 2 games and they have to win out to win the division. So it's very important. I'm reading this tweet, a couple tweets. What a game today, man! What a game! What a game! This is from Ryan Clark. Detroit put on a clinic. Pull it up. Colin St. Brown, reliable, probably doesn't sound enough respect because he's so dang good. But he's always there when you need him to make a play. And then Ryan Clark said something about culture. Let me try to pull this up. I thought this was probably the most excellent. Can't find it. Oh, Detroit. Detroit is putting on a clinic of acquiring folks that fit the culture, hunters, hustlers, and hitters. Ain't no one gonna be in no kneecap left without teeth marks. And I thought that was the most interesting tweet. I thought the way that Detroit plays, man, that was what a game, man. Like this, when you play a team like the Packers, and they're a talented team, no doubt about it. The Packers are a talented team, and you go on, you beat them. That is an example of culture. Bills are next. Great win. It's time to move on. Let's go. One pride. Bills are next. Obviously, all Lions fans, we got to bask on the glory of this win. This was a great win. Don't worry. We can put our feet up Sunday and not worry about anything else because we took care of business. And this team, man, they're special. Kevin said he was there tonight what a great crowd. The game was huge and might play a big role in seeding and getting that number 1 seed. I thought this game was really the game I thought was going to be huge for the seeding portion. Not only because of an NFC opponent, but it was a game against a common opponent, which it comes down to the seeding, and you beat the Packers twice. So man, that's freaking great, man. That's great. 10 days to get healthy for some Bills. That's the thing, man. The most important part about this game is you can get healthy now. You have 10 days to get healthy, and it's just a very, very good situation for the Detroit Lions, man. Tyler says Packers' best performance was a great flip up, flip by Kraft. That was the best thing I ever heard. Paul says in the comments, "What a picture! What a picture! Oh my god!" It's for people that are going to be listening to the podcast the next day. His picture is Sewell, stiff arm in the Chicago Bear in the Thanksgiving game. He says, Matt Henry, your best quarterback is playing for the Jets. Your boy Jordan isn't exactly getting it done. Yeah, I don't like Jordan Love that much. Paul Jones says, watching the replay on NFL Network. I didn't even know it was on NFL Network, but I truly want to go watch it now because I thought it was. I'll definitely rewatch it again. But just that game in particular, man, this was a game that Detroit shouldn't have won. Period. When you're missing the amount of players that they're missing, and like a left tackle like Taylor Decker, you're missing DJ Reader, you're missing Josh Pascal, Levi, and then you lose Ali McNeil halfway through the game. You're not really expected to win, and boy, oh boy, man, just a special win for the Lions. Tyler says Sewell looked like the next Jerome Bettis with that run. The thing is, I think they're going to use that at some point because he didn't go down. You know what I mean? He fought off a whole Bears. I mean, Kyle Brandt had a funny thing. He's like, he just after 12 Bears, give him a cigarette, and I was dying. That's freaking hilarious. All right, let's get to some stats. Obviously, we'll go through it again. For team stats, 45 plays for the Packers to 76 for the Lions. So Detroit doubled them up. Detroit had the better yardage, 391 to 298. Yards per play, 6.6. This is a stat that you really got to understand. With a 6.6 yards per play, it shows you with the time of possession, with the amount of plays they have, they're moving the ball at a considerable amount of pace. And Detroit had to go for the fourth down they had to go for because they were just letting up big play after big play. And it's understandable with the way that they had. But Detroit had 280 passing yards to Green Bay's 199. Rushing yards were 111 to 99. First downs were 27 to 17 in favor of Detroit. Fumbles lost. Green Bay had 1. Detroit had 0. Interceptions. Detroit had 1. Green Bay had 0. 7 penalties apiece for close to the same yardage. And Detroit led in time possessions 36-06 to 23-54. That played a big role in tonight's game, especially the time of possession. That played a huge, vital role in the way that they won this game. Let's look at the Lions stats. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs got 43 rushing yards. This was one of his worst nights in terms of how many rushing yards he got. He was getting up to 60 per game, and he hit way below that. So he had a rough game today. Dave Montgomery had 51 yards and 14 carries, 3.6 yard average, but they still win the game. Jared Goff, 32-41, 283 yards, 6.9 per pass. He had 3 TDs, 1 interception. And as you can see, per Optimum Stats, every player on this roster had 5 receptions or more. Tim Patrick had 6, Gibbs had 6, but everyone else had 5, including Montgomery, St. Brown, Laporta, and Jameson Williams. That's the first time in NFL history that has happened. You go to the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, 12 for 20. He was doing a pretty good job at passing the ball, 206 yards, 10.3 yards per average. Josh Jacobs, again, this was one of his worst games in this year. 18 carries, 66 yards. He had 3 TDs, but that 3.7 carry is just amazing. Obviously, you look at Christian Watson, 4 receptions for 114 yards. Dontavian Wicks, 4 receptions for 49 yards. Tucker Kraft, 3 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. And it's interesting because they held Jaden Reed off the board. Like, Jaden Reed didn't get a reception. He didn't get any yards. Unbelievable. And you did this with the injured bunch. Obviously, you see, look at Taylor Decker, Levi Enrique, Josh Pascal, DJ Reader didn't play today, and I thought it was very, very interesting the way this game went about. And it's very, very interesting how Detroit came out with the win, and it was very interesting how this defense played. But I think the best defense was the Detroit Lions offense, keeping time of possession, getting that more plays than Green Bay, and they withered away the clock. And I thought that was the most important thing that could happen. Um, we talked about the red zone stats before the game. Detroit was coming here sixth in the NFL. Packers were 20th. And we talked about this too. This was an amazing stat. Detroit was 30th in scoring in the fourth quarter. They were first in the third and the second quarter. And they were just, it was going to come down to the fourth quarter, I felt like. And they were going to have to show something here. And they did. It was a good game, though, for them. But it goes with what Dan Campbell was saying. Dan Campbell said, after last game, he said, Dan Campbell asked if he feels snake bitten with all the Lions' defensive injuries. Does it really matter? Who cares? Worrying about it and moaning about it and bitching about it doesn't matter. What does it matter? Whoever we have available, we expect to hold the line. And tonight they played Green Bay at home, and they hold the line. And that's exactly what you want out of a football team. And that's what a Dan Campbell type team is going to do. They held the line. They played pretty well. They did a good job at eliminating the Green Bay Packers. And they just played phenomenal, man. I thought they were definitely a reason for it. And they played really, really well. And I was very excited about how everything went down. Let's get to some comments before we end the podcast. Obviously, we're going to do 40 minutes here and cut it because it's almost 2:00 in the morning. This game had L written all over it. It did. It totally did, man. It was the only thing you could say is time possession was working in the Detroit Lions' favor, and they put together a really good group and they did a good job. So it was interesting. Tyler Lawrence says Gibbs' footwork was definitely not in it tonight. But we all know he will use this as fuel for the Bills. Yeah, as long as he comes with the Bills ready to go, we'll be good to go. Show the whole IR list. I believe we have 16 guys on IR on defense alone. Well, I don't have a whole complete IR list right now, but when I update it, I'm pretty sure that we have an all-star IR defensive team. I can tell you that right now. So the Lions win 34-31 against the Green Bay Packers. What a fantastic game. Obviously, we are talking just about a gritty game, a game that they came out here and they just completely showed Green Bay out. Green Bay had every reason to win this game. They were the more healthy team. Their offensive line was healthy. Josh Jacobs was coming in here on a roll, and Detroit just showed them up with practice squad players. I think if any Green Bay Packer fan wants to talk about how this game went, just talk about how your team played against practice squad players. I thought that was the most interesting thing. Your team came in here, should have won this game by a large margin, and they just got beat at their own game. So it was interesting. You can take that run away from Gibbs. That will give him 14 carries on 23 yards. That's only half a yards a carry. Yeah, I expect him to be a lot better going forward. It just wasn't his night. Maybe he wasn't feeling it or whatever the case may be, but he should be fine for the Bills game. I think at one point this game was just how bad do you want it? And they wanted it. They wanted it real bad. John Long, Aglano. I might have spoofed it. I'm sorry, bro. I think you're Italian or whatever. Any word on Lee McNeil's status? Lee McNeil had a head injury. He should be fine for the next game. I think it might have been concussion protocol. We'll see what happens. Obviously, those are always tricky, but it was a head injury. They said they didn't want to say concussion on the broadcast, which I thought was so weird. But interesting. Tyler says something. He says, "Do you agree that McNeil was just taken out for observation prevention? No, we have a big game this week." I think that the Lions didn't have any control over the Lee McNeil get taken out of this game. I think this was an independent consultant that took him out of the game. That's my assumption. Because he got taken out of the game really sporadically. And I know on the broadcast they didn't want to say concussion, but it was a concussion because why would he come in for a couple plays and then come out in the second half? Just didn't make any sense to me. But whatever the case might be, he should be back for next week. So that's going to be great. And it's going to be great to just get healthy. You know, you look at guys that were on the injury list today. You look at the guys that were on the injury list today, Levi and all those guys, they were really taxed, man. And they getting him healthy, that's the main goal right here. And I thought it was interesting. Comments from Paul Jones. Paul says, I think Gibbs was pressing too hard to get 1,000 yards. I believe he got 1,000 yards. Let me pull it up. Jahmyr Gibbs. Yep, he got 1,000 yards. So he's fourth in the NFL. But yeah, today was not his game. And it's interesting because at home, he averages 7 yards a carry. Today that he only averaged 2.9, so it's a little bit of a step back. But even if you go into what his projected season stats are, he's projected for the regular season to have 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, and average around 5.7 yards a carry. He would have around 1,600 total yards with 408 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. So, and the last 5 games he's been doing pretty good, but it just sucked. He had his worst game today. This was his worst game period of the year, I believe. Yeah, he had 40 yards here. No, you know what? You know what's interesting? He had 40 yards against the Rams, and he against Green Bay he had 65 yards, and then today he had 43 yards. So if he goes on a run like he did last time, that'll be pretty good. All right. So today the Lions win 34-31. It was a phenomenal game, and I thought just the way the Detroit Lions played, I thought it was interesting how everything went about. It was phenomenal. I thought Detroit did a damn good job at putting together a game plan that was going to unseat the Packers, and it was very interesting the way they beat the Packers. Obviously, time of possession was a key, and I said that coming in on the podcast before the game preview podcast. I said one of the major things that Detroit's going to have to do. Obviously, we know their defense is not healthy. They're going to have to make their offense their defense, and that's exactly what they did. They waged time of possession, and they waged the play totals. And everyone can fault Dan Campbell for going for it on fourth down, but the reality of the situation is this. I don't think Dan Campbell could have sat back and kicked punts for those 4 plays. He had to keep the defense off the field. That was the major thing that was happening with this team. Keeping the defense off the field was the most important thing in the whole game. And they came in here. The Packers did. They were a more healthy team. They should have won this game. They didn't. It was because the Lions did what they had to do to win. And one of the major things they had to do to win was win time of possession, win the war of plays in terms of how many plays do they get compared to how many did Detroit get. And I think the Lions, at the end of the day, they got about 20 more plays than the Packers did. If we go back and look at it, Detroit had 76 plays. The Packers had 45. So that is 30 plays different. That is look at the time of possession, 36:06 to 23:54. And when you think about that, man, that is just a fantastic thing that you've seen from the Detroit Lions today. Just a fantastic win for them. It'll be a fantastic time for this Detroit Lions team as they go through this 10-day break before their next game. 4:25 next Sunday against the Bills, which I'll be downtown, so there'll be another time I'll be downtown. But it's a very interesting time for the city of Detroit, and the way that they played was phenomenal. So we'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions news, Detroit Lions football, and the Detroit Lions win this game today, 34-31. And if you're watching this and you missed at any point, any portion of the podcast, you can follow along here, and you can go to all the socials, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we'll keep you up to date with anything Detroit Lions football and Detroit sports, especially on JC Sports YouTube page. We'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News podcast. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. And we got some comments to do before we go. Amazing game management. They knew they needed to control it on offense. The Stevie P shows a great comment. That's exactly what they needed to do. Paul Jones talks about have a good night, go Lions. And David says, I love that fourth down call that threw the ball games. Ain't too many players in this league that are going to stay out with them out in the backfield. Stevie P says, they'll beat the Bills. Let's go. And guys, thank you for watching the Detroit Lions podcast. I will see you in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football. Make sure to go to Detroit Lions podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and you can subscribe there in case you miss any of them. And we'll see you in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News podcast.